Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Learning Electronics. In this lecture we are going to study Bedford half bridge inverter. In the last class we have covered the half bridge and full bridge inverter. So if you want to see that videos, you can check it in the channel playlist. So before starting this lecture, please subscribe my channel and also press the bell icon so that you can get more updated videos from here. This is the circuit diagram of Bedford half bridge inverter. As you can see here, this circuit diagram consists of two thyristors T1 and T2. As this circuit uses only two thyristors T1 and T2, this circuit is called as half bridge inverter. It also consists of two diodes T1 and T2 which are called as feedback diodes, two capacitors C1 and C2, and two inductors L1 and L2. These both inductors are closely coupled to each other, and these inductors are two half section of the single inductor only. To avoid the saturation, core of this inductor is provided with the air gap. This is a single inductor with center tapping provided. Here the inductors and capacitors are the commutating components which are used to commutate the main thyristors T1 and T2. As the thyristors in this circuit are commutated by the reverse bias voltage, this inverter is a voltage commutated voltage source inverter. This inverter is also a complementary commutated inverter because when one off thyristor is turned on, other on thyristor will be turned off. That means to turn off the on thyristor, we have to turn on the off thyristor. The advantage of this circuit is that the commutation of T1 and T2 thyristors does not require any additional auxiliary thyristors. As we have used in the half bridge and full bridge inverter, there we used auxiliary thyristors and auxiliary diodes to turn off the main thyristor, whereas here we don't require any auxiliary thyristors. Now let us understand the working of this Bedford half bridge inverter circuit. The operation of this circuit is divided into 5 modes of operation. First we will discuss mode number 1 operation, which occurs before time t is equal to 0. So before time t is equal to 0, only T1 thyristor will be conducting, therefore it will conduct the load current I0, and T2 thyristor will be in the off condition. So as the T1 thyristor is conducting, the upper supply voltage Vs by 2 appears across this load. When we apply KVL, here we will get output voltage is equal to Vs by 2 here, and this source voltage also supplies the load current to the load. As here the load current is assumed to be constant, and this load current is also flowing through this L1 inductor as soon as this T1 thyristor goes into the on condition. Therefore voltage across this inductor L1 will be equal to 0, because we know that the voltage across the L1 inductor can be written as VL1 is equal to L1 di naught by dt, because the load current is flowing through this L1 inductor. Now as this load current is constant, therefore rate of change of current with respect to time will be equal to 0. Therefore we will get the voltage across L1 inductor VL1 will be equal to 0. Now as the voltage across L1 is equal to 0, the voltage across capacitor C1 will also be equal to 0. Therefore we will get VC1 is equal to 0. Now we will apply KVL in the second loop. What we will get? Vs by 2 minus V0 plus Vc2 is equal to 0. So from here we will get Vc2 is equal to Vs by 2 plus V0, and we know that V0 is equal to Vs by 2. So when we put here the value of V0, we will get Vc2 is equal to Vs. Therefore the voltage across the capacitor C2, Vc2 will be equal to Vs, and Vc1 will be equal to 0, as VL1 is equal to 0 here. Thus the voltage across this VC2 will appear across this T2 thyristor because it is connected across this T2 thyristor. Therefore this T2 thyristor will go into the forward bias condition and ready to turn on. Now we will understand the output waveform for the mode number 1 operation. So this mode number 1 operation will be studied before time t is equal to 0. Before time t is equal to 0, here we are seeing that the voltage across the capacitor C1 is equal to 0 before this t is equal to 0 instant, and the voltage across the capacitor C2 will be equal to Vs here. The capacitor currents will be equal to 0 in the first mode of operation. IC1 is equal to IC2 is equal to 0. Now if we talk about the thyristor currents, IT1, which is the current through the T1 thyristor, will be equal to the load current I0, because T1 thyristor is conducting the load current and it is in the on condition, whereas T2 thyristor will be in the off condition in the mode number 1 operation. Therefore, T2 current will be equal to 0. So this curve shows IT2 here. Diode D2 current will also be equal to 0 because diode D2 is not conducting in the first mode of operation. Load current will be constant, as we have assumed the load current is constant here. Now we will understand second mode of operation. Second mode of operation is studied at three instances. First one is at time t is equal to 0, second at time t is equal to 0 plus, and third at time t is equal to T1. So first we will take at time t is equal to 0, as we have discussed in the mode number 1 operation, that because of the voltage across the capacitor C2, VC2, this T2 thyristor will go into the forward bias condition. At time t is equal to 0, this T2 thyristor will be fired, so it will go into the on condition and starts conducting the current. So as soon as this T2 thyristor is fired, the voltage across the capacitor VC2, which was equal to Vs, will appear across this L2 inductor. Therefore, VL2 will also be equal to Vs here. Okay, and here you can see L1 and L2 inductor are closely coupled to each other, therefore their inductance will be equal. As their inductances will be equal voltage will be induced across this L1 inductor also, therefore VL1 will also be equal to Vs, with here C point positive with respect to D point. Here also this D point is positive with respect to E point across this L2 inductor. So this is the polarity of the voltage across L1 and L2 inductor here. Now as we have discussed, when this T1 thyristor was conducting, at that time L1 was carrying the load current here. Now if you find out the voltage across the T1 thyristor, when this T2 thyristor starts conducting, will be equal to VBC. VBC will be equal to VBF minus VCF. So if we find VBF, it will be equal to VAG only. VAG will be equal to Vs by 2 plus Vs by 2 is equal to Vs here. Minus VCF will be equal to VL1 plus VL2, which is equal to 2Vs. So from here we will get VBC is equal to minus of Vs, and this voltage will appear across the T1 thyristor as soon as this T2 thyristor starts conducting, and this voltage of minus Vs will be reverse bias voltage for T1, and T1 will go into the off condition. Now at time t is equal to 0 plus, this T1 thyristor will go into the off condition, that means it will be commutated. So now the current through the L1 inductor becomes 0 as this T1 thyristor goes into the off condition. Now as soon as this T1 thyristor goes into the off condition, now the load current start flowing through the L2 inductor to maintain the magnetomotive force, that is MMF, in the coupled inductors. As soon as this load current starts flowing through this L2 inductor, the capacitor discharging current, that is IC2 current, will jump from 0 to load current, that is I0. After this T1 thyristor goes into the off condition, the upper supply, that is Vs by 2, across this A and H terminals will supply the load current to this C1 thyristor, and this C1 thyristor will starts charging. As the T2 thyristor goes into the on condition, this C2 capacitor, which was charged before with voltage equal to plus Vs, will now discharge through this L2 inductor and T2 thyristor. So in this instant, at time t is equal to 0 plus, what is happening? C1 capacitor will charge and C2 capacitor will discharge. So as the discharging path of the C2 capacitor consists of two resonant components L2 and C2, the current which is flowing in this loop will be oscillating in nature. That means IC2 will be oscillating in nature and starts increasing. Now we will derive one equation here. First we will apply KVL in this first loop. The voltage across C1 is taken as VC1, so we will get Vs by 2 minus VC1 minus V0 voltage is equal to 0. We know the equation of the voltage across the capacitor, it will be equal to 1 upon C1 integration of IC1 dt. So we will get this type of equation. Let this be equation number 1. Now we will apply KVL in this second loop. We will get Vs by 2 plus V0 plus this voltage we are getting, because this C2 capacitor is now imparting its energy. So the voltage across this capacitor will be 1 upon C2 integration of IC2 dt minus of Vs is equal to 0. So this will be equation number 2. Now we will add both this equation number 1 and 2. We will get this type of equation. Here this Vs by 2 and this Vs by 2 becomes Vs, and here minus Vs will be there. So minus Vs and plus Vs will be cancelled out, and we will get this type of equation. Now from this equation we will get IC2 minus IC1 is equal to 0. From here we will get IC2 is equal to IC1, and since this IC2 will be equal to load current, so IC2 is equal to IC1 will be equal to load current. That means in the Bedford half bridge inverter, the capacitor 1 current will be equal to capacitor 2 current, and it will be equal to load current. Now we will study the next instant at time t is equal to t1, the discharging current in this path consisting of C2 capacitor, L2 inductor and T2 thyristor will reaches its peak value in the 1/4 of the cycle. So when the capacitor current reaches its peak value, which is the capacitor 2 current, it will be equal to ICP, and it is taken as maximum current IM at the peak value. So when the capacitor current reaches its peak value, that means all of the energy stored in the capacitor will be imparted to L2 inductor. That means the voltage across the capacitor becomes 0. Vc2 will be equal to 0, and at this instant what is happening, the voltage across the C1 capacitor will become equal to Vs. Now we will derive one equation at time t is equal to t1, capacitor discharging current IC2 will become maximum current, which is equal to Im. We will find IC1 plus IC2. IC1 plus IC2 will be equal to load current plus maximum current Im, because at time t is equal to t1, the capacitor 1 current will remain at value equal to load current, but the capacitor 2 current will become maximum current of Im. So we will put the value here I0 plus Im. Now we know that IC1 is equal to IC2 as we have derived in the previous slide. So when we put IC1 is equal to IC2 in this equation, we will get 2 IC1 is equal to I0 plus Im. So from here we will get IC1 is equal to I0 plus Im divided by 2. That means IC1 is equal to IC2 is equal to I0 plus Im by 2. This is the value for the capacitor 2 and capacitor 1 current at time t is equal to t1. Now for the circuit consisting of L2 inductor, T2 thyristor and C2 capacitor. If L is the inductance of the L2 inductor and C is the capacitance of C2, then the ringing frequency or resonant frequency of this resonant circuit will be given by omega naught is equal to 1 upon under root LC. Now we will take periodic time T naught, which is equal to 1 upon F naught is equal to 2 pi upon omega naught. Okay, now we will put this value of omega naught here. We will get 2 pi into under root LC is equal to T naught. Now at time t is equal to T1, the periodic time will be 1 by 4th. Therefore T1 will be equal to T naught by 4. We will put this value of T naught here. We will get T1 is equal to pi by 2 under root LC. The circuit turn off time should be smaller than T1 time. Therefore when we put this value here for T1, we will get the circuit turn off time should be smaller than pi by 2 under root LC. Now we will understand the output waveforms in the mode 2 operation. So here you can see T1 goes into the off condition and T2 goes into the on condition in the mode 2 operation. The voltage across the capacitor C2 will decrease towards 0 because this capacitor C2 is discharging in this second mode of operation, and the voltage across the capacitor C1 will increase towards Vs value in this mode of operation because C1 capacitor is charging. As we have studied, as soon as the T2 thyristor goes into the on condition, the capacitor current jumps to the value of current equal to the load current here. Then because of the presence of the resonant components L and C, current will follow a oscillatory path. So here we are getting one curve, and at time t is equal to t1, capacitor current will be equal to I0 plus Im by 2 as we have derived in the equation. Now we talk about the thyristor currents. Thyristor 1 current will be equal to 0 in this mode of operation because thyristor 1 current already gone into the off condition. Now thyristor 2 current will follow the curve for the capacitor 2 current because the current which is flowing in this loop of capacitor, inductor and thyristor will be the same current which is flowing through the thyristor 2. Therefore, the same waveform for IC2 current will be coming in the waveform for the IT2 current also. So here IT2 will be equal to IC2, and as we have discussed, at time t is equal to T1, IT2 will be equal to maximum current of Im. Next waveform is diode D2 current, that is ID2 current. It will be equal to 0 because D2 diode is not conducting here. I0 current continues to be constant because here the source is supplying load current, therefore the load current will be continuous in nature. This blue curve is the voltage of point C, and this orange curve is the voltage of point G, and this value is equal to TC off, that is circuit turn off time between these two instances, which is smaller than the T1 instant here. Next mode of operation is mode 3 operation. As we have discussed in the mode 2 operation, at time t is equal to T1, the capacitor 2 current IC2 will become maximum, that is equal to ICP, or it is equal to Im we have taken. So as soon as the capacitor current reaches maximum value, the inductor voltage of L2 changes its polarity and maintain the load current here. So here you can see, as soon as the value of the capacitor current reaches its peak value and tries to reverse its direction, the current through the L2 inductor will also reverse its direction, because this capacitor current is also flowing through this L2 inductor, and L2 inductor has the property to oppose the change of current through it. So to oppose the change of current through it, the polarity of the voltage across the inductor will be reversed, that is minus on the D point and plus on the E point. So as soon as the voltage changes its polarity, the D2 diode will go into the forward bias condition and starts conducting. Now the current starts flowing through the D2 diode instead of C2 capacitor. So no current will flow through this C2 capacitor. So here we can take IC2 current is equal to 0. And as soon as this T1 thyristor goes into the off condition, C1 capacitor will lose its path for discharging itself. Therefore, IC1 current will also becomes 0 in the third mode of operation. Now as soon as this D2 diode starts conducting, this L2 inductor starts releasing its energy through this D2 diode. Now if we apply KCL at this node, here the current through this load is taken as I0 and current in this branch is taken as Im. So when we apply KCL at this node, we will get ID2 current is equal to I0 current plus Im current in the third mode of operation. So as here the load is maintaining the load current, therefore the load current will decrease because it depends on the inductive load. Similarly, this Im current is also depending on this L2 inductor energy, therefore as this L2 inductor is releasing its energy, this Im current will also decrease. That means this I2 current will decrease as these currents I0 and Im will decrease with time. So as soon as this Im current, which is the current through this T2 thyristor also goes to 0, the current through this T2 thyristor goes to 0 and T2 thyristor will go into the off condition when the current through this T2 thyristor equal to Im goes to 0. As we have discussed that the inductive load is providing the load current here. So this inductive load will provide the load current by reversing its polarity, that is plus on this H point and minus on this point, okay, as shown in the figure. That means stored energy in the load is fed back to the source through this D2 diode in the third mode of operation. At time t is equal to T2, what is happening? This T2 thyristor current Im will become 0 as L2 inductor will fully release its energy through D2 diode, then T2 thyristor will go into off condition at time t is equal to T2. Now we will understand the output waveforms in the third mode of operation. Here you can see C1 capacitor is not getting any part to discharge itself as T1 thyristor goes into the off condition. Therefore, VC1 will be held at value equal to Vs here. This is value Vs. The voltage across the C2 capacitor will become 0. IC1 and IC2 current, as we have discussed, it is equal to 0. So here we are showing 0 value. Now the thyristor 2 current is depending on the energy stored in the L2 inductor. So slowly the IT2 current will decrease with time and will go to 0 at time t is equal to T2. As soon as this IT2 current becomes 0, what is happening? The T2 thyristor will go into the off condition. Now as we have discussed, at time t is equal to T1, the ID2 current will be equal to I0 plus Im. As the time passes, this load current will decrease because it is depending on the inductive load, and Im will depend on the L2 inductor. Therefore both will decrease. So total this ID2 will also decrease slowly. As we have discussed, the load current is dependent on the inductive load. So the load current value will not be constant here. It will slowly decrease towards the 0 value. Next mode of operation is mode 4 operation. As we have discussed in the mode 3 operation, load inductance maintains the load current through the lower source and D2 diode here. As long as this D2 diode is in conducting state, this T2 thyristor will remain in the reverse bias condition. That means this D2 diode will maintain the reverse bias across the T2 thyristor. Okay, and in this mode the energy will be fed back to the source by this inductive load at time t is equal to T3. When all the energy stored in the inductive load is fed back to the source, what happens? This load current, which is dependent on the energy stored in the inductive load, will go to 0. As soon as the load current becomes 0, the current through the D2 diode will also become 0, because now here Im current has gone to 0. Okay, so ID2 current will be equal to load current in this fourth mode of operation. So as soon as the load current becomes 0, ID2 current will also become 0, and at time t is equal to T3, D2 diode will go into the off condition. If T2 diode is turned off, then only T2 thyristor can be turned on, because this D2 diode is maintaining reverse bias across the T2 thyristor. Now we will understand the output waveforms for the fourth mode of operation. Here you can see the voltage across the C1 capacitor is held at value equal to Vs, and the voltage across the C2 capacitor Vc2 will be equal to 0. In the fourth mode of operation also, the capacitor 2 and capacitor 1 currents will be equal to 0. In the fourth mode of operation also, the thyristor 1 and thyristor 2 is not conducting in this fourth mode. Therefore the current through them will also be equal to 0. As we have discussed in the working, we have seen that as soon as the current through the L2 inductor Im becomes 0, the diode D2 current ID2 is dependent on this load current, and this load current is dependent on the inductive load. So as the inductor is releasing its energy which is connected in the load current will decrease slowly, and therefore since ID2 is equal to load current in the fourth mode of operation, ID2 will also decrease slowly to 0 value. So at time t is equal to T3, the load current as well as the diode D2 current ID2 current will also become 0. Last mode of operation is mode 5 operation. As we have discussed in the mode 4 operation, as soon as this D2 diode goes into the off condition, this T2 thyristor will go into the forward bias condition by this lower voltage source Vs by 2. Now in the mode 5 operation, this T2 thyristor at time t is equal to T3 will be given trigger pulse and starts conducting the current. So as soon as it starts conducting the current, IT2 will be equal to I0 here, because here D2 is open circuit and no current is flowing through the C2 capacitor. So here you can see the load current will be equal to IT2 current. But with respect to previous mode direction, the load current has reversed its direction, because here now the lower supply Vs by 2 is supplying the load current to the load here. Therefore, as the load current direction is reversed in this mode 5 operation, we will take the curve for the load current in the downward direction. But because here the thyristor 2 current is the forward current for this T2 thyristor, therefore we will take the T2 thyristor curve in the upward direction. But here in the circuit we can see load current is equal to thyristor 2 current IT2. As we have discussed that C1 capacitor is already charged with a voltage Vs, and it will give the forward bias to this T1 thyristor here. When we turn on this T1 thyristor, then only this T2 thyristor will go into the off condition. Now we will discuss the output waveforms for the fifth mode of operation. Here you can see Vc1 is equal to Vs, okay, Vc2 is equal to 0, IC1 and IC2 both are equal to 0. Load current is maintained by the lower voltage supply, but since the load is inductive, the current will slowly increase in the reverse direction, and as the IT2 current is equal to load current in the fifth mode of operation, it will increase in the upward direction because it is the forward current for the T2 thyristor. D2 diode stopped conducting in the fifth mode of operation, therefore current through it will be equal to 0. So hope you have understood all the modes of operation of the McMurray Bedford half bridge inverter. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe my channel for more updates.